Shay, please confirm that you can hear me. Good evening. Teachers Lounge. I hope it's okay here. So, Teachers Lounge have accepted. Can you still hear me now? I feel like a glitchy sound. Let me know if it's my headset that's doing that.
Finally, I did it. Hello?
You can hear me. Yeah.
Hello,
Hi.
can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and
Big background noise.
is it better now?
I can hear you clearly. I'm asking if there's background noise on my end.
The feedback, no, not at all. I can't hear it anymore. However, interestingly, I cannot see you. And this happened the other time. All I can see is just black. And this happened day one as well. But I think we're just going to have to go with the flow because by the time I checked out the recording, the other person was visible.
Yeah. Happens.
Okay. Wow. You know, that's one of the perks of technology. We just have to, you know, deal with these challenges from time to time. Thank you so much, Sassy Sheyi. Thank you, Miss Chairs, for joining. Thank you, SOJ, for joining. Thank you, Maureen, for joining us. Miss Okafor, so good to have you on the call. Thank you, Teacher Conversations, for stepping in and, you know, just helping to resolve this challenge that we're having. Good evening, everybody. And I am right here in the city of Abuja, so it's good evening from me. If you're joining us from other parts of the world, good morning if it's in the morning, good afternoon if you're enjoying the sun right now. It's good to have you on the call this evening. Welcome to the third day of Teachmas. It's so good to have everyone joining us. Active classroom management. And yesterday was the second day of Teachmas, and I was delighted to host my friend Oluwaseyi Babarinde, who talked us through collaborative teaching approaches. And today we're going to be taking the conversation one step further by exploring language learning strategies. And our guest for this evening is the one, the only Mrs. Ukpede Ufuoma. I'm just going to read a bit of her profile to us. Now, Ukpede Ufuoma is an accomplished educator with a passion for 21st century pedagogy, currently serving as an LKS2 teacher and team lead at Oakland International British School in Abuja, Nigeria. Ukpede brings a wealth of experience and expertise to the field of education. Everyone, please, can you help me celebrate Ufuoma Ukpede in the comment section? Good to have you, Ufuoma. Good evening. Thank you for agreeing to do this with me.
Thank you so much, Sienna. Thank you everyone for sharing the
Thank
Thank you
you.
all for this. Thank you.
Okay, so I can barely hear you. I want to believe that it has to do with my connection. So I'm going to just take a minute to put on my pods. If you bear with me, please. Just let me do that quickly. Because I want us to.
All right. Hello. Can everyone hear me, please? Please, can you confirm in the chat? Okay, so are you using an earpiece? If you are, I think you should disconnect it. It's interfering with your voice, so it's really glitching. Oh, thank you, Sasi Shei. Thank you so much. Hi, Lan Mide Educational. Good to have you. Good to have you, Dare Jam. Good to have you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. Hi, Ufoma, can you speak now? Let's see if it's better.
Is it better?
Much better.
Can
Yes,
you hear
it
me?
is. Clearly, I
Okay.
can. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening once again, and thank you for agreeing to do this with me. So technology is trying to get in the way of our shine on these 12 days of Teach Maths, but come on, we're
It's
going to
on. It's
we're
on.
going to keep
I think just
thriving in the midst of it all.
yeah.
Yeah. So yes, thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me. I'm sure that some people have probably seen teacher conversations on Instagram and they're like, who is this person? Why is she even in the education space? What is she? Please just tell us why. I know you've been a guest on Tales from the Classroom before, and that's one of the questions you have to answer. Education, why is it important to you?
Okay. Thank you so much once again, Christiana. Thank you, everybody. And once again, thank you for joining. Okay, so my name is Ufuoma Ukpede. Why education? Education is the life I kind of breathe. Maybe because from the start of life, or from not from the start of life, from somewhere around in my life, I just realized that I love to share whatever it is I know, whatever knowledge I have, whatever I know how to do. I always wanted to bring somebody on board to know it with me, to share it with me, to do it with me. I always love to share that knowledge. So along the line, finished secondary school, and in a bid to not stay at home after secondary school while we were awaiting results and all that, a friend of mine pulled me and we went over to my mom's friend's lesson center. We had to help out with the children, teach them ABCs and 1, 2, 3 at a time. And it was fun because they were babies and we just needed to help the woman, my mom's colleague at the time, to navigate through the day for children who needed extra classes after school. So we did that with her, and I then went to the university. It continued tutorials upon tutorials. I'll gather my friends, free. I wasn't collecting any money at the time. So I'll just gather them. Do you have any problem with this course? Let's talk about it. We will share knowledge. And then in sharing was interestingly, I was getting, of course, more knowledge as I was sharing. So it became more interesting because I mean, I had to, by the time I share, I get more understanding, I get more clarity, and I'm helping the persons that I've shared with as well. So the educational journey continued like that. And then I served after school. I went to service. I worked in a bank after service. Okay, I worked as a communicator, as a lecturer. Sorry, in a polytechnic. That's where I served. After service, I worked in a bank, but I didn't. I couldn't survive. I couldn't survive marketing, so I just left and I went back
Marketing.
into the classroom in Katsina. I can remember, and right there, marketing. So not marketing. I went into the classroom. I left marketing completely after 3 months. I couldn't survive it, so I just left, and then I went to the classroom again. So right there, while I was in the classroom, um, a friend of mine in Lagos said, "Why are you in Katsina? Why are you in the north? Come to Lagos. That is where education is actually happening." And so I did I begged to apply, and I went over to Lagos. So that was where 21st century education started for me. I saw firsthand how it was in that school, how it was completely different from what I'd known, how you needed to decorate the walls, how you needed to, make learning happen even while you're not there, how you needed to aid the children, how differentiation and everything took place. At that start, and I was interested. I was like, okay, this is a lot better than, the times where we were forced to, even if we didn't like math, you had to learn the timetable with a long cane, the threat of a long cane if you don't learn it, with all that. So I saw that there was a lot of difference, and I got interested. And along the line,
Fantastic.
and that's where 21st century education started, basically, until I got certification. So too much story. Let's go on.
So two things that you should know about Ufoma. Number one, she's always so particular about what a 21st century teacher should look like. What skills should they possess?
Yeah.
What should their classrooms look like? As you can barely have a conversation with her without her mentioning the 21st century teacher.
Something about 21st
And then
century.
while you were
Yeah.
talking, the second thing I wanted to mention was the fact that teachers are so knowledgeable, and that's because they also give out knowledge. So the more you have a
Yeah.
class tomorrow, you have to prepare for that lesson. You will just find out that
Uh-huh.
you're gaining more knowledge on your own part as well.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Foma, for being on the show this evening. Let's get into the topic
Yeah.
for the day. We're talking about
Sorry, T. I think
language. Please
I
talk to
lost you a bit. Did you say
us
something?
about, oh, yes, I said, please talk to us about language learning strategies.
Okay. Okay. I think it's best we start with, okay, let's start from the introduction, basically. Every learning process requires a strategy, that has to be adapted in order for the purpose of learning to be achieved. So this is why language learning strategies is very important. It's a it refers to like the specific actions, the behaviors, steps, the techniques that individuals will use to improve their language learning. In this case, we'll be talking about the steps, the techniques that teachers need to be able to deliver language learning in their classrooms, with particular reference to the English language, because, sorry, that's my field. I don't know about the Mandarin teachers and the others. Sorry, just
But I
teasing.
think that
Okay, so
whatever,
this is,
because you're also teaching a language, right?
well, well, it's language.
I
I
wanted to
get
say,
it,
I believe
yeah.
that whatever
So it
strategies
will
you
still be
use
beneficial.
may be applicable as well in those other fields.
Yes, yes. I said I agreed. I agreed with you. I knew you were coming with that, and I said it's fine. It's actually fine. I was just joking around. Okay,
Okay.
so why is this? Why is language learning important? Basically, language learning plays a pivotal role in breaking down the learning process, and it sort of fosters autonomy, where a child gets to own their learning. And that's, for me, that's the core of 21st century learning, where a child owns their learning. It's no longer the traditional way of
Fantastic.
a teacher standing in front of the class, a teacher being the authority of all knowledge and all that. It's no longer that. So language learning strategies help to um, aid autonomy in a classroom. When we employ effective learning strategies, learners accelerate their language acquisition and it helps build confidence in them. It enhances retention and basically diverse learning styles their diverse learning styles are discovered in the process. Can you hear me or did you lose me?
I lost you for a bit, but I can hear you now.
Okay, that's fine. So I let me take one step backward. I said by employing effective learning strategies, the learners will not only accelerate their language acquisition skills, it will also build confidence in them. It will enhance the retention for them. And then, of course, they will adapt to different learning styles, basically. So this is what language learning strategies is all about this evening.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So essentially, we want to get people to learn a language that they are not familiar with, and we want them to be able to
Yeah,
retain that knowledge, right?
yeah, yeah.
So can you speak more to the importance of these language learning strategies that you hope to share with us, want
Okay.
to share with us?
So I said earlier on, give me a minute. Sorry, 1 minute, please.
Okay.
All right. Now, language learning, basically, because
Okay.
when I spoke about confidence earlier, I said it builds confidence in a child.
Fantastic.
When a child is able to communicate, I say that to my son a lot. That I say to my son, your mouth is more important to you is more important to you than your hand. I don't know if I'm right, but I'm coming from the perspective of rather than use your hand to do something to your sister, you might just need to communicate with her. So I believe that the power of words, in fact, the Bible says, it talks about, if I can remember, the man whose wisdom was taken. I'm modeling it up, but basically, words, being able to communicate is kind of power. Communication, if you can actually communicate confidently in a language, it gives you some sort of power. Now, in this case, English language, if you can communicate in English language very well without any issue, you can stand up in any crowd, actually. So I cannot overemphasize the fact that language learning strategies will help to build confidence in a child, basically. That's the major one. Yeah, and then I said
Okay.
it enhances retention. It can help the
Okay.
children retain whatever it is they've learned. It can help them adapt to different learning styles. It can help them acquire more knowledge, basically, if they can actually understand the language. So those are the those are the importance of language learning, basically.
Fantastic.
I hope
When
I've
you were
been
talking,
able to.
I couldn't, but I couldn't help but think about some comedy. What would I say? Some jokes that comedians have shared in the past. And one of them is a classroom setting, and you know that back in the days, they will say that nobody in this class is allowed to speak vernacular. If you speak vernacular,
Mm.
you'll be reported to the teacher or you'll be flogged. And then because someone in that classroom cannot express themselves in the acceptable language, whether it is English language or whatever language it is, wherever you are in the world. Sometimes they get cheated because they can't even express how they feel,
They
or
just be
they may even
quiet.
overreact. Yes, they'll be quiet because they're trying not to speak, or they may even
Yeah.
overreact such that
Yes.
somebody does something, and just because, like you said, about conversations that you have with your son, you're like, guy, don't do anything with your aunt to your sister.
Use your
Use
mouth.
your words. Yes. So if you don't have the words to form, you are going to look for another way to express the emotions.
That's the
So yes,
thing. Yeah.
thank you. So we can't wait to hear about this language learning strategy. So can you speak to us about some strategies that you employ when you're teaching languages to your learners? This time around,
Okay.
because you're an English teacher, English language.
Okay. Let's talk about the types of language learning strategies before we get into practical classroom
Okay.
application. Now,
Okay.
there are three major types of classroom strategies. We have the
Okay.
cognitive, the metacognitive, and the social affective. Big language or big grammar. Cognitive is basically manipulating material, being able to organize and manipulate the material. Metacognition is thinking about the learning process. You're thinking about your learning, how you can learn. You're able to tell that this is the way I learn and I cannot learn this way. And then the social affective is basically collaboration and interaction with others. So these are the three major types of learning strategies. Now, in order to achieve these strategies, we have practical applications or practical use in the classroom. Effective, I call them uh, effective strategies that teachers can employ to facilitate a more engaging and productive learning environment. So, can we delve into that?
Sure, please. Let's go. Let's go. I'm
Okay.
taking notes. That's how you can see me looking down.
Okay. Okay. So, for the very first one I will talk about, it's interactive learning activities. Now,
Okay.
how can a teacher facilitate a more engaging and productive learning environment? You must use interactive learning activities. Now, these kinds of activities could be discussions, it could be debates, it could be role play, just to encourage communication and language practice. You cannot have a class where you will be the author of all knowledge, as I've said. I think I like to use that phrase a lot. Teacher, you are not the God of all knowledge. The children have brains and their minds are one person I know very well calls them the digital natives of our time. And they're inquisitive, they're learning a lot online. And so you cannot stand as all authority. You must learn to have an interactive platform where you share, they share, majorly them sharing. Somewhere at the beginning of this year, I think one of my posts was on talk less teaching. I said it was okay for you to practice talk less teaching. And I've practiced it at some points with my children. One of the days I entered and I said I wasn't going to say anything. So I wrote all their instructions on the board, all they needed to do, and I allowed them carry on for the day. We did it twice, up to half day. Not that was complete, was me completely shutting up and passing every information they needed. They asked them whatever question they had, they had to ask themselves. Now, did it work? Yes. Did he have challenges? Yes, it did. But I mean, it's something that keeps. The reason behind interaction is simple. Interactive activities will help the children learn better. Why would I say this? The learning pyramid puts talk teaching at less than 10% retention. Now, we said language learning strategies will help children retain, right? Now, if you do not use interactive, the children will have less than 10% retention of what you have taught. Now,
So
when you
that
are
means when the
teaching,
teacher is just lecturing, more like you're just standing in
yes,
front of them and
the
just talking,
lecturing
talking,
staff,
talking, talking. Okay?
it's less than 10% retention. That's what the learning pyramid puts it at. Now,
Okay.
another school of thought, I don't know if it's proven, says that the more you talk, the more you get better, the more knowledgeable you become when you share your knowledge with others. I think I said that in my introduction, that the more I was teaching my mates, the more knowledgeable I was becoming. Do you get? Now, imagine me, the teacher, doing all the talking. I am becoming more knowledgeable, my children are not. So that's
Mm,
why there has to be
mm,
student voice. You have to let them talk. You have to let them have their voices. Give them the material. Let them look through it. Then let them begin to communicate and share amongst themselves. You just be the facilitator by the side, trying to correct any what's that word now? Any word they veil, you can bring them
mm-hmm,
back. But be the
mm-hmm,
facilitator. Some people like
mm-hmm.
talking, people like me. So it's something we have to practice by stepping aside and allowing the children take ownership of their learning. That's the very first
Fantastic.
one,
Fantastic.
interactive learning.
Okay.
Another
Okay. Sorry,
one,
let me just regurgitate that. Let me be sure
okay,
that I understood you. So what you've just
all
shared
right.
with us is that you're saying that if teachers want to, and oh, I see it. Oh, Namdi, can't wait to have you on day 5. That's 2 days from now.
I
I'm glad
love
that you
the
could join the conversation eventually. Thank you for joining us. So back to you, Ufoma. What you're saying now is that as a teacher, if you want to make sure that when you're teaching languages, for instance, when you're teaching your English to your learners, you want to
yeah,
ensure that they also communicate using it. You're not the only one that should just come there and come and be talking, 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 talking. Let your students also talk. Let them learn. And for somebody like me, if I'm in a class where they don't allow us to talk, there'll be a problem because I'm a talk learner. I like to talk. It's when I'm
yeah,
talking that I'm processing the learning.
yeah,
Thank you so much. So I got
yeah,
that first one.
yeah. So it has to be interactive. You ask questions, you let them talk, you let them air their opinions. And then the second one we're going to look at is you creating an immersive environment
Mm,
where English is used as much as possible. It's closely related to the first one. For if you have an engaging, interactive classroom, then your children will immerse themselves in the language. Immersive classrooms are classrooms where the teacher uses the language to communicate. They use it to do everything. It becomes easier because they hear you use it. Now,
okay.
I want
Sorry
to add up
to
some.
pause you there.
Okay? Yeah,
So
go ahead.
I'm trying to apply this to other languages as well. So what you're saying now is that if I'm a Spanish teacher, when I come into the classroom, I
Yeah,
have to ensure that as much as
your
possible,
Spanishing.
that language Spanish is what we use to communicate.
Yeah, I
Okay.
have a friend who's a French teacher. When she steps into my own classroom as a class teacher, from the door, she does everything in French, including talking to me. The children don't take permission using English. She encourages them to use the language, even if they don't understand it, even if they don't get it yet. When a child comes to her to say something, she'll tell them what it is in French. So they use it. It's the language of communication throughout that class. That's immersion. So that's for French. Yeah, that's for French. It applies for Spanish. It applies to Mandarin or any other
Yoruba,
language.
Igbo, Hausa.
Thank you. Thank you. If they must, yes, I even have another Yoruba friend that does the same thing. So she comes in for Yoruba, she's greeting them from the door. You can't take permission in English. No, they have to say it in Yoruba. If she's asking them for the date, they have to find a way to say it in Yoruba. So the language has to be immersive for it to be learned. That's the second one. Okay, can I continue?
Yes,
or you have
please.
something to?
Yes, please.
All right. Another would be using authentic materials. Now, for authentic materials, authentic, we all know the meaning of authentic, real, basically. Utilizing authentic materials like newspapers, film, real life scenarios, it will expose the children to the real language use in our ESL classrooms. So I think other languages practically do this. It's mainly ESL that struggle with this. The English teachers, we immerse the children in English, but we really don't. We don't have. Not every English teacher has, in a British school, for instance, has British conversations recorded where the children are listening and hearing exactly as it is spoken. But this would actually help the children speak very well. Authentic materials would tell the children what is allowed and what is not allowed. And one of the what is it called now? One of the targets for English language learners is that they are able to use standard English. In Britain, I remember once one of my bosses gave me a book. It was written by the Queen herself, according to her, and it showed the difference, just the way we have Nigerian English, British English, those publications that show that. This particular book was written in England, and it showed standard English and non-standard English usage in England. So some of the things we even copied were non-standard in England. And I said, okay,
wow,
that's where, so you can understand that we need authentic materials so that our children can see the application of the language in real life.
Okay.
Now, having said that, dear teacher, if your English is not polished, Ejo, I'm begging.
Wow, you're about to break a table.
Polish it.
Okay.
So that you are not giving a target to a child that the child needs to learn standard English and your English is not standard. So be the first authentic material in your class and then bring others in. As much as possible, use use Google, use okay, so recently I had a chat with a colleague. There was something I saw in a script and I said it was wrong. It was the word herbivore. It was written an herbivore. And I said, no, it cannot be an herbivore. It's a herbivore because it begins with the sound.
Sound. Yeah.
She said she saw it actually because she checked and she saw that it was an herbivore. So I was forced to check as well. I realized that the Americans pronounce the word as herbivore without the sound. So in that case, an herbivore is correct for the Americans. So I said to her, okay, you are right because it's an American pronunciation, but this is a British school, so we have to use the British version. So there has to be, the teacher has to do their due diligence by checking what's the pronunciation of the word. I know I started following someone recently who does that British pronunciation and American pronunciation. We need to know. If you work in an American school, use the authentic pronunciation for words. If you work in a British school, use the authentic pronunciation for words. Words like schedule. I learned all that as well. Even the registers of America sometimes is different from the British use. So we need to learn these things and let our children know what is what so that they can learn well. That's the third point. You want to say something or should I move on?
Please move on.
Okay. All right. Point number 4. How can I effectively teach my children language? Engage in student vocabulary building games. Vocabulary building games such as puzzles, crosswords. These are the very easy ones. Vocabulary bingo. This will make learning enjoyable. There's the very popular site that's coming to my mind right now is Turtle Diary. Turtle Diary. There's Word Wall. There's one other spelling site as well. These sites give games. You probably remembered something you wanted to share?
I'm trying to remember the spelling site. It's a W something too.
Yeah, when you do, please share. Now these are sites that have vocabulary games. Don't be too serious of a teacher not to give them crosswords. If you want them to use good registers, you can put it in a crossword. Tell them to find it out. Tell them to find a meaning. It could be a crossword puzzle. It could be the other puzzle. What's the other one called? Word puzzle. There's a word puzzle. There's a crossword puzzle. So put it there. Let them engage with the words. Let them know the meaning of the words. Don't shy away from. In fact, there was a time I used to tell my kids, I am not your dictionary. They know. I think I had about 2 or 3 sets that knew that they couldn't come to me to ask me for the meaning of a word when there's a dictionary by your side. No, you can't do that. I'm not your dictionary. And then I encourage them to also get a vocabulary notebook so that they can record all the new vocabulary they've learned maybe within a day or within a week, and then use it. So not just learn them, but use them. So I always give extra marks if I see that a child has used a new vocabulary for the week in their writing or anything they've engaged with in class. I give extra marks just to encourage them. So give them puzzles, crosswords, vocabulary bingo, anything just to make them enjoy learning. Point number 5.
Okay, before you continue, please, yes, please. Okay. Teachers, I hope you are learning this evening. And thankfully, she has shared some resources with us that I think you should check out after now. She talked about Turtle Diary, Word Wall, and then the one I was trying to remember is Spell Zone. Spell Zone.
Yeah.
So please check out this. Yes. Check out these resources and then please use them. We're at Teachers Lounge. We're all about improving the learning outcomes in our classrooms. And how do we hope to achieve that? We do that by bringing educators like Ufuoma Ukpede on board to share their experiences with us so that we can learn from them and then take the best practices into our own classrooms. Just a little bit more about Ufuoma before we continue. Now, Ufuoma currently serves as the creative lead at Teacher Conversations, a platform that enables her to contribute as a teacher trainer specializing in 21st century pedagogy. She is an active participant in online educational discussions just like this one, as reflected in our posts on Instagram under the handle at Teacher Conversations. Our posts cover a range of topics from classroom management strategies and students' choice to the nuances of the 21st century education. With a robust professional background and a dedication to shaping the future of education, she stands out as a leader in the field, contributing significantly to the development of both educators and students alike. So, Ufuoma, it's such a privilege having you, and thank you for the resources you shared. I'm going to type it, SE Gold School. I'm going to type it out right after now. And please remember that the contest is still on. I'm willing to give out free copies of the reflection journal for teachers, but it seems like teachers are not interested in getting the reflection journal for teachers. Well, to qualify, all you need to do is share your learnings or your takeaways from each day on our platform. At the end of the 12 days of Teachmas, the posts with the highest likes will be selected and you will all get a free copy of the reflection journal for teachers. So please, after now, just dash to, yes, please.
Can I also send my reflection? Can I also send what I've learned?
Oh, okay.
I'm just joking.
That's like the examiner sending it. Don't worry, we're working out something.
All right.
Okay,
That's fine.
so we're going to just proceed with the conversation. I had to stop Ufuoma there, and I feel like time these days, what's going on? We have a lot to cover. Please let me just allow you to shoot.
Okay. All right. So let's hurry and wrap it up because of time. Now, the point number 5, I think we're number 5.
Yes.
Language exchanges. Another way to be more deliberate about your children learning the language, you must have language exchanges. So not just bringing authentic material to the class, we need to have them communicate with people who use this language in other places of the world. Language exchange programs. I know we've not gotten there fully yet, but give us some time. Give all the policymakers in the recent policymakers in the education sector, we're coming, all right? So we'll have exchange programs where we're collaborating amongst, ourselves and then with the world outside. And then PenPal initiatives. You know what PenPal is? Obviously, PenPal has been old, like it's been happening a long time. Now, there was one time I remember I made my kids, I had a friend in Canada. Give me 1 minute, please.
Okay.
Okay, so sorry. I had a bit of interference. Now, I said there was a time I had a friend. I had a friend and we were learning in class at the time about the time change we're learning about weather and the time change in different countries. And I had a friend in Canada. At that time, we were 5 hours, and there was 5 hours difference between our times. And I had to call her. It was in the afternoon for us, and it was morning for her. And I just chatted her up, but I said, "Can the children see you in class? Like, can I just call you on WhatsApp video so they can see you? Just come outside the house, let them see the weather, what the weather is like, learning about the temperature and all that." And she was excited and she said, "Okay, that's fine." And they did. Now you could see my children practically. They were very excited. They definitely were excited. So things like that. It doesn't even have to be, we don't have to wait till we have these exchange programs happening. You could decide to, if you have 1 or 2 friends abroad, especially now that a lot of Nigerians have jackpot, you have them. They're in Canada, they're in the UK, they're in the US.
Are you there?
Just let.
Okay. Yeah, I lost you for a bit. I wanted to contribute. Yes, I lost you for a bit there, but I got to the point you were trying to make. That there should be some form of collaboration, exchange programs, like talk to someone outside of your immediate space. I wanted to share a resource that I came in contact with some years ago. In fact, I'm not even if it's still active. I would have to check after now and probably give feedback by tomorrow. Empathico. I'm not even sure if I can spell it properly. EMPATHICO. With Empathico, a teacher can schedule a meeting with another teacher on another continent. So you both will agree, when it is time, your
Yeah,
class and
nice.
that other teacher's class will have a meeting. Now imagine that you bring your students into the classroom and they are meeting with other children, say Chinese learners, and you guys now talk about climate change, for example. That
Yes,
experience will
yeah.
stay with the learners. So I'm going to check after now if
Please
Empathico is still
share the
available.
site.
Teachers,
Yeah.
please check it out.
Kindly, kindly share the site because I too will take advantage of it. I
Okay.
remember another example I have was when we read we read David Walliams' book, Mr. Stink and Billionaire Boy, in one of my sets that I took, and all we made we tried our best, to liaise with them so that they could give us a meeting time where we could, chat with him, talk with him. I intended to bring him to class, but he had a very busy schedule. My kids kept looking forward to it. We kept writing emails and emails, but it didn't really come. They didn't grant it. Now that was because they looked at his blog and they said his blog was not, they didn't really like it. So they created another blog for his story and they were willing to share with him. So
Wow.
it was it was it was really something to look forward to at the time. And now that you have shared this site, I probably would, I'm not probably, I would take it as well, and add it to my own virtual stuff that I'm already doing. So these are ways we can actually get our children to speak with other kids abroad. Um, I want to follow up this woman as well, Kim Berding of Ron Clark Academy. I know she's doing some maybe virtual internship stuff that I saw once. I'm not sure. I'm going to check her out and then see if it's something we can also collaborate with her own class, because that woman's class is always fun. And being the owner of her school, I mean, being one of the shareholders rather, it would be easier to get permission from her directly. Those are ways we can. It's just let's explore, basically explore and make it happen. Make it happen for your children. Allow them speak with learners from other countries, discuss learning, create something together on a virtual space. Having said that, sorry, I'm remembering so many things as I'm talking. There's this platform I came across. I have not finished exploring because I had a bit of restrictions. My current school doesn't allow for that kind of collaboration, so I couldn't really get the
Okay.
children across. But it's something I'm working on. It's called it's I Earn. Anyone can type it in. Sorry, can check that out. Capital IEARN. Now
Okay. I earn.
it's a yeah, I Earn. It's a collaborative site. Children do projects together from all over the world. In fact, I've made my kids do some of the projects. We've just not collaborated with other children doing it. So it's like saying, my kids are learning about ancient Egypt. Your kids are learning about ancient Egypt. Can we please do a project together? And then we share pictures, we share live videos like that. But my own challenge was, of course, safety
School
policies and
policy,
safeguarding.
yeah.
My school
Yes.
policies, it
Very
didn't allow for
important.
that kind of virtual live stuff. So that was why it didn't happen. But I'm looking at incorporating other schools because I actually have a chance of being a Nigerian contact, because they don't have a contact in Nigeria presently. I'm looking at. Can you hear me,
Okay.
Christiana?
Yes, I
Okay.
can
So
clearly.
I'm looking at being a Nigerian contact where I could actually bring children from different schools in Nigeria just to get them collaborating with other children in other spaces. So these are ways our children can boost their confidence. Pen pals has been like that since 19 Brigade, God knows. Write a letter, share it with someone in the UK. It's so
Well,
let's just
our
find a way to
time,
engage to make them connect the word. Our time is up, actually. Yeah. Can I rush over the remaining ones I have? Is it possible? Or should we stop here, or should I rush over the last points I have?
Yes, please. Yes, please. We need to wrap up. I feel so bad. I feel like I wish we started earlier, but yes, we're going to make the most with what
Yeah.
we have. Yes, please go over your last point.
Okay, so one more thing, encourage storytelling and reading aloud. I shared in I think it was one of our conversations that I shared read work. That encourages for reading aloud. Then one final point, teach grammar in context, not in isolation. This is one problem I know that happens in Nigeria. Apart from the British schools, British and American schools or schools that have foreign curriculum, they the others teach grammar in isolation. They just teach grammar. English is a whole product. Speaking and listening, all the strands are together. They are embedded. Grammar shows up in writing, so you can't teach it in isolation. You need to teach it so that the children can use it in speaking and in writing. So that's implement
Hello?
task-based learning.
Okay, go on.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? Did you lose me?
Yes, please go on. I can hear you now, but I lost you for a bit. Yes. Well, please go on.
Okay. Implement task-based activities where children can engage in projects, and that requires them to practicalize their content. That would help them foster peer collaboration as well. Then give constructive feedbacks, basically, that focuses on the strength of the children and the weakness of the children so that they know where they are and where they need to be. Integrate aspects of speaking culture into the lesson. We cannot overemphasize culture. That comes from engaging with other people around the world so that they can understand what happens in other places. Encourage students to read books, read articles, read blogs of their interest and increase their proficiency level. Incorporate music and song, incorporate technology, however, and have a flexible lesson plan. I just rushed over the last points I have so that we don't waste time. But I hope that I've been able to um, do justice to the topic, basically.
Yes,
So,
thank you
yeah.
so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really learned a lot. And I think that this conversation also sort of acted like a catalyst. I haven't thought about empathical in a long time. Like you just brought it out of me.
Mm,
There's empathical
yeah.
somewhere. And you also shared some other resources with us. Dear teachers, you are encouraged to please go on to explore all these resources that we have shared tonight. The goal is to have us improve the learning outcomes in our classrooms. That's why we're doing this. That's why we're doing this. The quality of education on the African continent must get better, and it starts with you. It starts with you, dear teacher.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Ufuoma. And you're one of those people. I'll just call you. Come for teachers' lounge or something. I would love to have you back over and over again on teachers'
Thank you so
lounge.
much. Thank you
It's
so
such
much.
a
Thank you
beautiful.
so much.
It's so nice having this conversation with you. I enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much. Do you have any
Thank you.
final words for
Thank you.
teachers watching?
Teachers. There's one something teacher recruitment I learned from teacher recruitment, a teacher recruitment hangout we had. I am that teacher that the world needs for the education the world I am that
Once.
teacher the world wants for the education that the world needs. Make
Coordinates.
sure you are you are giving yourself CPD as much as you can, because the change we need in this country, in this nation, actually starts with us. So that's my final word this evening.
Thank you. Thank you. That brings us to the end of the show today. I'm sure that one of these days we're still going to go back to this year's
Good.
Teachers' Day theme. The teachers we need for the education we want.
The
Please stay
word.
tuned because we're
Yeah,
going to talk about it. I am positive that one of these
definitely.
days we'll touch on it. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Good night. Good night. Bye. Thank you so much once
Bye.
again, Tiana.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. Good to have you. Please
All right.
add me as a collaborator.
That's fine.